as well as Nayavada. So, Nayavada, any philosophy, is a perspective. And definitely it has some truth in it. But if you declare that as absolute truth, you're wrong. So, if you declare any particular point of view as absolute, you are likely to go wrong. Now, what we have done is Nayavada, Shadvada, both we have taken it too far and said, well, Jainism preaches or teaches multiple perspectives. We forget over there that also Jainism teaches absolute perspective. Kevala Jnana, for example. Also, the truth, fundamental truths of Jainism. That is, if you talk about epistemology, any perspective is only partial perspective. This very statement is absolute statement. So what I am trying to hint at is, in Jainism, not only that you have these Anekantavada or the emphasis for the ordinary human beings, you also have scientific view which talks about eternal truths. Truths, unchanging truths. Now, let us consider certain kinds of truths. Let us say an argument in logic is valid. Is it only valid today? An argument is eternally valid if it is valid, because an argument, its validity doesn't depend on time and space. It is temporal, if you like. Transcendental, if you want to use that kind of terminology. The fundamental truths of science and of religion or of even ethics, they are all transcendental. They are not temporary truths. So we need to look at, in this framework, what is science? Science, people have mistaken it to be, based on observation, and try to answer that question. Would it not lead to inductive generalization and skepticism? Will you admit in science any skepticism unless it is probabilistic science? We are so sure that 2 plus 2 equal to 4. There is no probability of any kind. Similarly, gravitational force, we believe that it is true forever. But if it is generalization like this, then it is only probable. And similarly, we have the confusion between truths of mathematical kind, which are based on languages and syntax and semantics, and truths of science. Laws of nature you can deny, still it will be meaningful but not contradictory. Deny a mathematical theorem, it is contradictory. So mistaking scientific laws to be one of the intellectual kind or of analytical kind or theoretical kind is to make a fundamental mistake. And the fundamental truths of science is that you should study laws pertaining to that domain. And laws, where are they? Neither in our observation nor in our mind. They are in some way realities, ontological realities, almost like our spirits. Spirits are not observable directly. Similarly, laws of nature cannot be observed directly, but their application is always observable. So once you understand what is scientific law and what is science, immediately you will see the truth that is talked about is eternal truth, transcendental truth, and same is true of Jaina metaphysics and Jaina epistemology. So I would say that you need to combine the virtues of Jaina philosophy with that of modern scientific views. I don't mean thereby the relativism or the culturally influenced kind of science, absolute science I am talking about. And I believe that that is the most defendable kind of position in science. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very nice. Very excellent. Excellent. Now we invite Dr. Sudhir Jain from Bhabha Atomic Research Center. He is professor in Homi Bhabha National Institute and is also adjunct professor in University of Mumbai and Department of Atomic Energy Center of Excellence in Basic Sciences. He is trained in the United States. He was lived several years on deputation from Bhabha Atomic Research Center. A quite accomplished scientist. He is scientist H at the moment, which is very senior hierarchy in Bhabha Atomic Research Center. Director of BRC could not come, and he deputed Dr. Sudhir Jain in his place. Because as you know, Director of Bhabha Atomic Research Center has become now Chairman Atomic Energy Commission. Therefore, he requested me that I will depute one of the very learned scientists for this job. Dr. Sudhir Jain, please now.
Thank you very much. It's a tremendous pleasure for me to be here, and I thank the organizers. And without wasting any time, I want to start this discussion 8:20. I must finish before 8:30. So, good evening, everyone. Now, the key words that I have in mind are harmonizing and integrating of knowledge. I think the order of the day is to harmonize knowledge. We work on scientific problems, we handle difficult technological challenges, we prove mathematical theorems, we observe nature and write poetry and write stories, watch movies and make movies. It would help very much actually to work on interrelations. The issues related to, for example, climate change are so complex that we need a comprehensive viewpoint. For instance, you know about the Chennai floods or earthquakes and the recent Himalayan earthquakes. Some of my friends, in one of the things that I work on is complex systems, are trying to predict earthquakes. And actually the earthquake which just occurred at Himalayas was predicted within a plus minus of 5 days by an American Indian physicist who is at University of Maryland, College Park, which is, I think, extremely remarkable. Now, what we need to do is to integrate what we observe with what we actually know, with all different kinds of knowledges. We in science, in fact, do things like somebody does physics, somebody does mathematics, somebody does philosophy and writes stories, but we are unable to integrate, and that's our failing. We need to understand the nature of responsibility towards future of mankind we have on ourselves in terms of managing the natural resources. The tenets of Jain philosophy certainly guide us in this direction. As an example, some time back, there was a calculation made, a very simple calculation on the number of calories we can provide to an individual in India, given the total arable land we have, and the amount of total sunlight that we receive. And it's staggering to see that the maximum energy we can provide to an individual per day is 1600 kilocalories, which is much smaller than what you need for healthy living, which is around 2,400 kilocalories. Therefore, if we continue to not be watchful about how resources are utilized, we are in terrible crisis. My younger brother, who is a world authority on climate science, told me this morning that I was discussing that I have to talk, so tell me what I should say. And he said that one of the things is that it is known from the researches in climate science that non-vegetarian cooking, for instance, requires 20 times more water. And therefore, water resource management experts actually say that vegetarianism, for instance, is a great thing which one should adopt. Now, I want to come back to the agenda of this panel discussion. And the agenda is to try to state clearly some of the projects that we could undertake under national and international collaboration. And in this regard, I would like to say that we have a very challenging program. One of the challenging programs that I would like to mention in this, which is that to understand the virtues from the lifestyles of our monks. Our monks, for example, use only very limited resources. And I know I was in direct tutelage of one of the monks many years ago, and I know that he used to eat only once a day. And there was no question of acidity or losing of energy or anything like that. And I don't know if there is a clear scientific understanding of the virtues of the lifestyles of our monks and what it has to teach us in management of the resources at large in terms of all sorts of resources like food or water or everything. So this is one of the things that I think is a very important thing, which comes directly from real life necessity. We need to resource manage, and we have an example of how it is possible. We still don't have clearest idea in terms of science how to do it. So this is one of the things. Now the other thing that I said earlier as I started was to integrate knowledge. We are at 100th anniversary of Einstein's general theory of relativity, and about 115 years after quantum theory was discovered. And we are still I'm completely aware, because I teach all the time at all kinds of places and meet hundreds of children who are very young, 5, 7-year-old children, and lecture to them, and to also old people. And I know that we haven't, in our day-to-day thinking, we haven't integrated all the science that we have actually learned. When we think today, it's not very different from what people used to, from how people used to think 120 years ago. And that's not great. If we have progressed in science, we have to make a progress within. And the scientists have a great responsibility to provide a dialogue which gives an understanding to all the people in the language and in the form that they can actually understand and actually imbibe, and then in relation with philosophical tenets of Jainism, etc., we can make even greater progress. Now, in this regard, I must say that one of the other things that just mentioned by Professor Mishra was this work of Roger Penrose, which is regarding the second law of thermodynamics. I have a talk tomorrow afternoon where I show also that it's because the universe is finite, because the universe, howsoever large, it's finite. It is guaranteed that there would be recurrences, that there are events which would recur. That can be mathematically proved. It's not a question of somebody's belief or something. It's a fact that one can prove this. Now, in a certain situation where recurrences could be there, there can be near recurrences, and sometimes there can be exact recurrences. These exact recurrences imply that in terms of a quantity in physics which we call entropy, which we say is that everything actually proceeds towards equilibrium, entropy increases with time. So the direction of time is given in terms of these recurrences. Therefore, the notion of time that we have, which is linear in certain thinking and circular in certain thinking, these are not actually antagonistic to each other. And there is a great amount of work which can be done experimentally and theoretically to actually establish what is the real nature of time and determinism. The last thing that I would like to mention in just 2 more minutes is that I come back to a very important discovery in quantum mechanics, which is related somehow to consciousness also. And this is about entanglement. We have, so it is now shown in quantum mechanics that there is a non-local behavior, that I can actually make 2 things influence each other in a way that was not possible before. This quantum mechanical thing is called entanglement, and people have experimentally been able to entangle 2 pieces of diamond on a table, experimentally. This was a paper in Nature Physics, so it's not published in, said by somebody. It's published, refereed by one of the most respectable journals that we have in science, which is Nature, and it was published there. Now, my question is very simple, although almost amazingly complicated, that, if we can entangle diamonds, could we also entangle humans? Could we entangle minds? Could we entangle 2 people? Now, what's the evidence of my asking such a question? All of us in our lives of experience have this feeling that we have that, as soon as somebody's mother gets ill, sometimes you get a feeling 1,000 kilometers away that there is something wrong and I must make a phone call. You are doing a scientific work, and without any logic, you get a drive which is called intuition. What is the physical basis of intuition? These questions are related to our conscious state, the state of a person. Sometimes we are led in completely illogical ways which you can't explain in our science, and we have no idea how we come to such conclusions. And so there is a lot of work which is connected with respect to Jainism and the nature of consciousness, nature of determinism, nature of time. And I think I should stop here. I thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Very well said. Yes. Now I will invite the floor to guide us, to express yourself, to suggest what you would like us to go about, which way we should develop this kind of collaborations in science and Jain philosophy traditions, what we should do so that we have become meaningful and we do something fruitful. Anyone who wants to say something, you can come to the dais here or you can speak from there as you like. Anyone? Okay, so mic, please. Can you give the mic? Yeah, please give the mic to other people. Okay, fine. Please. Can you please identify yourself?
Yes. My name is Dr. Pradyum Shah. I'm from Punjabi University, Patiala. Earlier, I have been a student of Jain Vishwabharati University and I worked there in that university. I would like to attract your attention that very great scientist Einstein had stated that science without religion is blind and religion without science is lame. In this way, I would like to mention here that Jain religion and philosophy is very scientific. Concept of Jeev and Ajeev has been stated in this philosophy and religion. So this is quite scientific, and the enlargement of this idea is needed. The philosophy of Anekantvad is the need of time, need of world, and world fraternity is waiting for such a doctrine like a Anekantvad. Nowadays, we are waiting for a person, educated person, enlightened person who can use this science for the betterment of this world. So that is why I would say that we need to promote a person who can use this science for the betterment of this world. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Anyone, any other person would like to say something? Can you please give mic there? Please identify yourself so that.
I think it would be better if we can have it brief and specific, because we have to keep up with the time frame. It's better to have a specific thing which you want to point it out.
सभी सब्जेक्टिव बोल रहे हैं, सभी सब्जेक्टिव बोल रहे हैं, कोई प्रोजेक्ट पे कोई नहीं आया है.
I'll talk about 4 projects. One is Lok Akash. There we have got 3 types of bird: visible bird, underground bird, and invisible bird.